I wanted to ask you, this was a really weird moment, and I know you've been asked this before, but listen, I'm not a very big Brett Kavanaugh fan. Okay, and many people are not. But this was a moment to me that speaks volumes about his character. You're very kind. You were very kind, and you went up to him, right? And I want you to kind of explain what happened, but you kind of just put his hand out to him to shake his hand. Look, let's be honest, Fred. You have been on every network, okay? You're a very recognizable guy. There is no question he knew who you were. And if he's going to say he didn't, and he just thought you were just somebody in the crowd asking him for a picture or something, that, it's absurd. You go up to him. You were very nice to him, right? You try to shake his hand, and the man just walks away from you. I mean, explain to me that whole situation.
Yeah. So it's actually worse than that. Number one, let's talk about the crowd. This starts with the big lie. You had the senators in the semicircle, and then you had all the cameramen sitting in front of the senators, and then you had Kavanaugh sitting at his table. Behind Kavanaugh was, I guess, about 15, 20 rows of seated, invited guests. Behind the seated, invited guests were all the tables of seated media. Behind the seated media was where the hecklers were, the crowd he was referring to.
Right.
There really wasn't a crowd. What it was is a line of hecklers that were being walked through with a security on both sides of the heckler. So as they're being walked through, they're screaming, but they're being walked in the door, walked through, and walked out. There is no crowd. There's just a disturbance. That's it. As far as I am concerned, I was invited there by Senator Dianne Feinstein, and she introduced me. And the reason why he knew who I was is when I go to these events, I do not sit down. I refuse to sit and make people comfortable around me when there's a chance they will be talking about what happened to my daughter. And so I was standing at my seat the entire morning. And when the senator introduced me, all the cameramen started snapping pictures because I was there standing.
Right.
And he looked over. When we got ready to go for lunch, I walked over and I'm talking to Senator Blumenthal, who I've got to know quite well. And we were just chatting. We start to say goodbye to each other. I turn around, and Kavanaugh is getting up. He's 3-4 steps from me. So I take 3-4 steps over. I touch him on the elbow. He turns around, and I extend my hand, and I introduce myself exactly as I do to everybody who I will be talking to about my daughter. And I said, "Hi, my name is Fred Guttenberg, father of Jamie Guttenberg, who was murdered in Parkland." As soon as I got to the murdered in Parkland part was where he turned around and did a beeline out. And Rosenstein and McGann, who were sitting right by him, they heard it. They got up and they kind of whisked him out as well. If you look at the video, you'll see them going right out of there with him.
What is going through your mind when he walks away like that? Because in my mind, I'm saying to myself things I can't say on the radio, and I'm calling him a coward and gutless. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking when you're trying to shake Kavanaugh's hand? And even if you just shook your hand and say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Guttenberg, I have to go now. Let's talk at another time," you would have respected that, right?
Listen, I was taken aback. All that I wanted to do, he brought his family there, and he introduced his family. And they're a beautiful family. And all I wanted to do was say, you and your family live in a community like the one that my daughter was killed in. And I want you to remember that if you ever have a chance to rule on any gun safety measures.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say to the man. I didn't get the chance. He didn't want to hear it. I was taken aback. I didn't get the gravity of it until about 20 minutes, 30 minutes later. People start texting me like crazy. What happened? These pictures in the video. I was at lunch. So I went back up and go to sit back, back to my area, and I'm going to stand back by my seat. And Kavanaugh comes back in, and he sits down, and he looks over at me, and he winks. And I thought he was trying to say, that didn't go well. I apologize is what I thought he was saying. So I nodded back, and I said, no problem. Literally 20 seconds later, 3 armed D.C. policemen come and remove me from the room.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
So Fred, Kavanaugh had to have complained. He went back in a room there.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And here's how I know.
What a piece of garbage. Oh, God.
When they removed me from the room, they asked me to extend my right arm. On my right arm, I wear 3 bracelets that are specific to my daughter.
Right.
And, there are different orange bracelets that we've had made up and stuff. And he must have seen them because as soon as I get out, the cops asked me to extend my right arm and want to know what their bracelets are about and what the message is that I'm trying to send. So,
oh my goodness! See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I explained to the cops. They interrogate me for about 20 minutes, take my license, and run a background check, and eventually they let me go back in.
And Kavanaugh never acknowledged you again. You've never spoken to him since, correct?
No, and in fact, he lied about it because the next day, I was there the rest of the first day. I was there the next day and Lindsey Grant even tried to get him to acknowledge that there was a Parkland dad. Is there anything you'd like to say to the dad? And he said, change the topic and went off on some other tangent.
And how does it make you feel that this guy is on the Supreme Court?
Well, so here's the deal. Later that week, all those senators got to ask questions again under oath. And he answered that if he had only had a chance to see me again, he would have really have liked that opportunity.
That's nonsense.
So that was a lie under oath because I was there for 3 days.
Yeah.
So how does it make me feel? It confirms for me we have a liar who's serving on the Supreme Court and an indecent guy. He's just not a decent guy.
Yeah.
But listen, he's serving. He's there.
Sad.
And scares the daylights out of me because he will have a chance to rule on important things. For example, today, Remington filed an appeal with the Supreme Court on their loss in Connecticut regarding the Sandy Hook lawsuit because they're being sued by the families from
right.
Sandy Hook.
Right.
And Remington filed to the Supreme Court today. That's how badly they don't want to be put under oath to talk about their marketing and what they knew about the numbers of weapons they were producing and the impact that would have on lives.
They don't want to take any responsibility.
No. And now Kavanaugh is going to be one of the votes that potentially will hear that case.
Oh, God, that is scary.
I have a good guess as to how he's going to rule.
Yeah, I think we all do.